There, folks. Welcome to the program. This is Stinchfield, the podcast. What a huge night in Texas last night. I don't want anyone out there to be disappointed that Ken Paxton, our current Attorney General, soon to be United States Senator from the great state of Texas. I don't want anyone to think that somehow he missed the boat or this wasn't a victory. John Cornyn spent $100 million and he couldn't get to 50%. He couldn't beat Ken Paxton by a point or two. I mean, this is what's outrageous to me is the amount of money spent. But what is amazing to me is the grassroots in control of this great state where I broadcast from. You know, if we lose Texas, we lose the entire country. I'm not here to tell you that we're under the threat of losing Texas, but I'm here to tell you that they want Texas. They will not give up until they get Texas. And so let's hope they never have to give up because we keep fighting back and they never get it. I think right now what you're going to see is grassroots rally in a runoff election with Ken Paxton against John Cornyn to send Ken Paxton over the edge and into the general election as the Republican nominee for the United States Senate here in Texas. It's great. Now, what else was great? Dan Crenshaw. Boy, what a piece of work. This guy called us angertainment. You remember that? Angertainment is what he says. All of you who watch podcasts like this and my Real America's Voice show, angertainment. He criticized President Trump and his personality. He was all insane for Ukraine. Spending unending amounts of money in Ukraine. Dan Crenshaw lost. Steve Toth is in. Steve Toth, a frequent contributor on the Real America's Voice show, and so proud of him for unseating that guy. And then we had a lot of statewide races that we were victorious in where we had MAGA conservatives taking over. You had a guy by the name of Nate Sheets win the agriculture Secretary of Agriculture or the Commissioner of Agriculture in Texas. You had a buddy of mine, Don Huffines, win the race for state controller. He said he's going to doge Texas. And I want you to think, Huffines and Abbott are no great friends. This, again, was just the solidification of MAGA in control. And I hope that this is a sign of what's to come throughout the country. All right. Before we get to the show, I want to tell you about a new sponsor of mine. Lost Soldier Oil and Gas has made the largest oil and gas discovery in probably 40 years. This is in Wyoming. They knew the gas was there. The problem was they couldn't drill for it because it was on a uranium mine. Well, guess what? Lost Soldier Oil and Gas now has the ability to drill on that area. They plan on building a short pipeline to get into a massive pipeline infrastructure that's already there and send gas to California. If you are interested in reclaiming our energy independence, and if you are interested in learning more about what Lost Soldier has to offer, I would say go to the website, lostsoldier.com. You make sure you tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. They will treat you extra special. They treat everybody special, but they will treat you extra special. You tell them that I sent you. And I want you to take a close look at what they're doing there. This could be huge. Let's just say that. So get with Lost Soldier Oil and Gas. I did an interview with the CEO last night on the Real America's Voice show. Just fabulously interesting situations of why this play looks like it's going to be one of the greatest of all time. LostSoldier.com. That's LostSoldier.com. Of course, there's risk and everything, but I urge you, check it out for sure. All right, with that, folks, let's get the show started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, welcome everybody. So, what a night in Texas. You've got John Cornyn forced into a runoff, decades in the United States Senate. one of the most powerful Republican senators in Washington, who also happens to be a rhino, who also happened to turn his back on the Second Amendment, who also happened to call all of you radical for early voting or being involved in the grassroots movement or being what I still call is a Tea Party patriot, which is now a MAGA conservative. You guys are radicals. Well, that hurt him at the polls. John Cornyn, now sent to a runoff with my buddy Ken Paxton. Here's the problem. Wesley Hunt, the congressman from Texas, maybe a decent guy for all I know, but he played spoiler here. Ken Paxton could have been on his way to the general election. We're going to spend another, I don't know, $50 million, $60 million on this race going into the runoff. And Paxton could have already been securing that money and using it against Democrats. Instead, because Wesley Hunt jumped in this race, played spoiler, got like 13% of the vote, had no business being in the race. He, in the end, in some respects, gives John Cornyn a lifeline. Not a good move by Wesley Hunt. But let's listen to Paxton just on the day of election.
On the other hand, if you look at my career, you look at just what I've done as Attorney General, pick any 2-week period you want other than Christmas and Thanksgiving, and I guarantee you I've accomplished more in 2 weeks than he's accomplished in his 40-plus years in office.
You know what he's saying, Attorney General? He's saying you can't win. In fact, he told me that last week right here on the Will Cain Show.
We haven't elected a Democrat since 1994, as you know, Will, but this would be the first crack in the red wall. And unfortunately, that's what is being put at risk as a result of the corruption and the baggage that Ken Paxton brings to this race.
He's saying,
hey, jerk man, which is what you are, John Cornyn. You know, I always just say, you know what, you're probably a nice guy, but you're not. Like this nonsense, a crack in the red wall. This is the opposite. This is the red wall being built even bigger. This is the MAGA wall. You're not a Trump guy, Cornyn. I know you're not a Trump guy. You're an establishment Bush guy. You turn your nose up at all of us who support the Make America Great Again movement. And the only thing I worry about now is you lose this runoff. You've got a few months in the United States Senate left. You could be a loose cannon. You could go off the reservation. You could become a guy like Tom Tillis. I'm going to play that, who's on the way out. What an asshole that guy is. So what did Ken Paxton have to say about that?
James Tallarico and or Jasmine Crockett beat you in a general election.
Well, I would say the same thing if I were him. He's got no path to winning the primary, so he's trying to use it. Well, he has no issue that he's running on, so why not make up one? I've won 3 statewide elections. I've done really well statewide. They've said that before, and I've done extremely well. As a matter of fact, the first time I ran, I beat a guy named Sam Houston by a lot. So this idea that I can't win a statewide election, well, I'm 3-0. So the second part of that is the polling doesn't suggest that he's right. I mean, I've seen the polling. I do as well and sometimes better than him because I'm going to bring out voters that are not inspired by John Cornyn's lack of accomplishment. We need somebody that has an accomplishment that can talk about what they've done, and actually people will believe that you're going to deliver.
I believe he'll deliver. He was the most prolific, victorious attorney general in the history of the United States of suing administrations. In our case, thank God, he was suing the Obama and Biden administrations in a big way. I mean, that guy wasted no time when it came to filing lawsuits against Biden's unconstitutional executive orders, unconstitutional regulations. He was looking out for Texans, and he was victorious in most of his lawsuits. They weren't frivolous. They were based in fact and law. Now, he is correct that he will bring out the grassroots. He will bring out people that will crawl over coals to go vote for him. Now, not to take away from Ken Paxton, but a lot of what this is are people that do not want John Cornyn. They don't want him. That's me. I don't want John Cornyn. Now, I like Ken Paxton. He's a friend of mine. I got a cell phone number here. I call him Ken, not General. When I'm out with him, call him General on the show. But when we're out, it's Ken and Grant. Guy's a good man. Now, are we electing a preacher man? No. Does he have some problems in his personal life? Yes. Does that affect how you lead? No. I don't care about that anymore. I think Trump has proven that you can be a brash guy. You can do some things that people might shake their head at, but it doesn't affect your ability to lead. And that's what Ken Paxton can do. John Cornyn is not a leader. John Cornyn is a follower. He's a follower of the establishment and the deep state. He's a deep state plant that was elected by the people of Texas. Of all things, that's the last guy we want. Now, why do we want Cornyn out? It's pretty clear. Because Cornyn is becoming a guy like Tom Tillis. Senator Tillis is on the way out. But I want to give you an example of why we need backup, why President Trump needs backup in the United States Senate.
Just been told, fortunately, in about a week and a half, we're going to get a plaque on the wall over the Capitol thanking the Capitol police officers and all the agencies that responded on January 6th. All those thugs have actually been pardoned, and yet we haven't thanked the Capitol police officers for their work here. So when I say I'm unapologetically pro-law enforcement, you can count in every single sworn officer in Homeland Security. So
what an ass. Besmirching all the J6ers, the thugs. I know men, I know women who are not thugs. They took an unorganized tour of the Capitol. And quite frankly, I really don't have any problems with the Capitol Police. Most of them were following orders. You had some situations where they got a little out of hand. But my issue isn't with the Capitol Police. My issue is with Nancy Pelosi not bringing in the National Guard, not being direct with people. They let people into many areas of the Capitol, directing people around, and then you go later and arrest those people. It was a giant setup job. My problem is really with the FBI. We know that the FBI had not only informants inside J6, they had plants, they had undercover officers. I believe they had people that was ginning up the crowd. I'm not my beef isn't with the Capitol Police, except Officer Byrd, who killed Ashley Babbitt. That was bad, to say the least. So, you know, we got things to do here, and getting Tom Tillis out is important. Responding to my producer. So this is where we are. Tom Tillis and those types like John Cornyn need to go. There's no doubt about that. Now, why isn't Ken Paxton going straight to the United States Senate? Why isn't he winning outright? Because of a guy like this, Wesley Hunt. So watch.
Y'all hear me okay? First of all, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for this day. I want to thank you for us being blessed to live in the greatest country in the world. I want to thank him for a process that allows us to pick our leaders and do it in a way that is fair, that is reasonable, and puts the hands in we the people. And we the people and the people of Texas have spoken. Unfortunately, that person is not me. But that's okay, because I always win, because I'm a believer in Christ.
I mean, I'm just going to say it. Like, dude, you ruined it. You ruined it for Ken Paxton. So as a believer in Christ, why did you get involved in the race to basically support the devil of Rhino Republicans? This is basically what you did. Is it too harsh for me to call Rhino Republicans working with the devil? I do believe they want to bring this country down. They despise everything President Trump is doing. You helped them, Wesley Hunt. Did you really think that you were going to beat Ken Paxton? And then on that front, did you really think you could beat John Cornyn? Now, maybe if it was you and Cornyn head-to-head, I would have voted for you. But it wasn't. Paxton was in this race long before you got in. You played the role of the spoiler, and now you want to come and praise Jesus. I mean, come on, man. I'm really having a hard time with this. This reminds me a lot of I'm not going to play the banana in the tailpipe trick, okay?
I want to thank my wonderful team that worked tirelessly as we traveled all over this massive state. Texas is a big state, as I have found out. But the people that I have met along the way, the smiles that I have seen, the inspiration that they have given me is something that I will keep with me for my entire life. And my team that traveled all over this state with me, hung in there, made all the phone calls, made all the...
Oh, shut up. Look, I'm sure you're a nice guy. Thank you for your service to this country. I'm grateful to that. I think you're a pretty good lawmaker. I didn't know a lot about you, but a pretty good lawmaker. I don't know why you did this. Now, John Cornyn went after Wesley Hunt hard. He spent so much money doing attack ads on Hunt. I don't know what the philosophy was. Was it to knock Hunt down so badly that Cornyn could get to 50%? Because I think if he knew that he wasn't going to be able to knock Paxton down, Paxton has survived every attack thrown against him, from the impeachment, which I think is many reasons why people in Texas support Paxton. We look at him a lot like President Trump in the fact that they impeached him. They tried to bring charges against him. They did everything they could do to stop him. Why? Because they hate that he's MAGA. They hate it. So Wesley Hunt, I'm upset with him. He played the spoiler in a big way, and I hope he doesn't hurt Ken Paxton. I think Ken Paxton can win in this runoff. I feel very confident about it, but it's not a given. Cornyn's going to have so much money to spend in this. Paxton had $4 million. John Cornyn spent $100 million and couldn't even beat Ken Paxton. So we'll see how this goes. Before I play you the Jasmine Crockett, boy, her political career's over. I don't know where she goes from here. What a dumb move on her part. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about my friends over at VRAinsider.com. This is a daily newsletter you get every morning before the markets open with positions that probably have an average hold time of about 30 days. The return of their yearly portfolio is about 35%. That's what it was last year, 50% the year before, 30-something% the year before that. Beating the market consistently, nearly every year in the last 20 years. It's unbelievable what they have done. I've taken a sizable portion of my portfolio. I opened up a separate account at Schwab, and I'm just using the VRA Insider. And even with the craziness that we saw in the stock market over the last couple days, I've made that back up with what they're doing. Amazing guys. VRAinsider.com. Here's the very cool thing. You get a 2-week trial and a complete access trial, not just a taste. You get the back end of this. You see all of their positions. You can see every trade they've made from the history of this being a thing. 20 years, by the way, in business. VRAinsider.com. If you want to crush the market, get with them for that 2-week trial. VRAinsider.com. All right. So Jasmine Crockett. Is Jasmine Crockett an election denier? Jasmine Crockett saying the election stolen from her. This Tallarico clown beat her out. And this guy is no prize, by the way. But Jasmine Crockett was such a radical. Even Texas Democrats rejected her. Because, one, I don't think she's smart. Quite frankly, I think that she has no class whatsoever. And she's just an all-around not good person. So now she's claiming that the election was stolen from her.
State. We don't have any of the results because there was a lot of confusion today. And so, our Democratic Party chair, Cardall Coleman, he beat me to the punch, as myself and Colin all read. We're about to file a lawsuit to keep the voting polls open.
So let me explain what happened yesterday. I believe she may be right. I believe the election may have been rigged against her because the Democrat Party knew that she stood no chance against Ken Paxton or John Cornyn. Okay? No chance. She's too crazy. She's a Looney Tune. She's a loose cannon. She's pitching reparations. Nobody wants to hear that nonsense. So they knew she couldn't win. So the Democrat Party in Texas does what they can do. They get Tallarico to go on with, who was it, Colbert, change the whole dynamic of the race, get support from Hollywood. Next thing you know, Tallarico wins. She and Colin Allred, who's a Democrat incumbent, running against an incumbent Julie Johnson because the districts were redistricted. So now you got to have two incumbents together. Want to go and keep the polls open in Dallas County. Now, why Dallas County? Jasmine Crockett's from Dallas County. If there's anywhere where she could rally a base, it would be in South Dallas, where that's where she shines. She wanted to keep the polls open for 2 hours longer, I guess, to see if she could make up the difference with Dallas County voters. Judge in Dallas says no problem, keep the polls open. Supreme Court says, polls have to close. Any of the ballots that were taken after, put them aside. But that's not going to work. Now, Republicans didn't ask to keep the polls open, just Democrats, and they didn't do it for Republicans. So this wasn't a cheat job against Republicans. It was only a cheat job of Jasmine Crockett and Colin Allred saying, hey, let's keep the polls open to rally votes for us in Dallas. Allred from Dallas, too. But it wasn't enough. Tallarico with the victory. Now, Tallarico is no special guy, okay? Listen to him last night.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
Our southern border should be like a front porch with a giant welcome mat. Do you agree with that? Do you want a welcome mat on our front porch? No, thank you. Now, if you want to come here legally, there's a process to do that. You don't show up and knock on the door and say, hey, can I come in? I don't even have good friends. I've got a buddy of mine who lives in Memphis. He does a lot of business in Dallas. I tell him, mi casa es su casa. You come and go as you please. You got a code to the front door. Do you think he comes and goes as he pleases? No, he calls me. He says, hey, I'm going to come in next week. I'll be in on Wednesday. I'm leaving on Friday. Or I'm going to come in Tuesday. I'm leaving on Thursday. Okay. He still calls and sets it up. This is the same thing with immigration. You set it up. You start the process. You don't just show up and knock on the door. Or what we saw Joe Biden do. Normally, I'd say you don't just show up and knock the door down and come in. That's how illegal immigration used to have it. No, now it's just you show up, Joe Biden opens the door for you, and you come on in. So Tallarico wants open borders. And then there's this about God. Now, you explain this to me.
Is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
You want to know something? God is non-binary. That's ridiculous. To me, God is a man in my mind. I mean, a man in the image of a man, okay? I don't picture God as a transgender individual or God as a female. I still do kind of picture God as, typically what you'd see in all of the classic paintings. Now, is that what God is? Who knows, right? But in the end, he's not non-binary, okay? I don't even know what that means. Quite frankly, it's an affront to the Christian community. We know that we push back against the gay and lesbian lifestyle. Now, me individually, you want to be gay, have at it, man. It's none of my business. I could care less. Just don't push it on my kids. Don't push it on me. You want to be a tranny? Go be a tranny. It's a free country, right? Like, do whatever you want. I can tell you why I think you're mentally ill. If you want to chop your nuts off, I can tell you why I think, mental illness is basically it. You're mentally irregular, as Sylvester Stallone would say. But it doesn't mean I'm going to tell you not to do it. I'm only going to tell you not to do it to children, because children aren't old enough to protect themselves from monsters who want to do that. But in the end, that's not a Christian principle. God is non-binary. Clearly, he's wrong on that. So, with that, let me play one more. Oh no, that's the last clip I had on that. Now, let me explain to you about Dan Crenshaw. Do you remember Dan Crenshaw, the Navy SEAL from Houston area, I guess it is? He burst on the scene, and we thought he was going to be a conservative hero. Navy SEAL, wounded in the line of duty, loses an eye over it. God bless him for his service. He turns out to be the biggest neocon ever. All he wants to do is throw money at Ukraine. All he wants to do is disparage Trump. Anybody that asks him questions he's rude to that are questioning some of his decisions, including me. I think he hung up the phone on me on the radio one time. So he constantly was disparaging Trump until Trump gets back in office. Then, of course, that he's nice. This is not the type of guy we want. Now, in the beginning, the left started attacking him. Remember when Saturday Night Live did a skit? I rushed to the defense of Dan Crenshaw. So Saturday Night Live, have at it. He's open season on you. I hope you do another skit on Dan Crenshaw now because he's a loser. And he lost to a buddy of mine, Steve Toth, who will be the next congressman in Dan Crenshaw's position. Toth is a real conservative. State representative from Texas, was one of the few that was standing up to the rhino establishment at the state legislature and the Democrats, which were working together to take over the state legislature in Texas. This is a real problem for a conservative state like ours. But Toth, fabulous. Captain Shelley says, I'm so thankful Crenshaw is out. Believe me. Shelley, me too. So many of us. And again, this is a tribute to the grassroots movement in Texas. It's a tribute to the power of Maga. Notice that President Trump did not endorse in that race with Crenshaw and Toth, which tells you everything you need to know. He doesn't endorse a sitting member of Congress. He did not endorse in the Cornyn Paxton race. Now, I know for a fact he was a Paxton fan. And by him not endorsing Cornyn, you know where that stands. So that, folks, tells you all you need to know about where MAGA is and how important it is that we keep this movement going. You know, this proposition got 95% Republicans to approve of no Sharia law in Texas. Sharia law, the outrageous idea that Muslims are going to institute their own law here that basically gives women's and gays and anybody no rights other than men. And this is saying no to Sharia law, which is so dangerous and so oppressive. 95%. That's huge. It got more votes than any other statewide office going. I mean, over 2 million votes, I believe, for that. So very, very impressive. All right. One of the things last night that we did, you know, it was such a great honor to work with Steve Bannon last night on Real America's Voice. I always love when I get to sit side by side with Steve and we go through election night, and he really is a brilliant mind when it comes to the MAGA movement and MAGA conservative candidates. Well, we wouldn't be able to do this, not Steve, not I, without Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile has been such a great supporter of all of us at Real America's Voice, so many of us on these podcasts you see on Rumble, which is one reason, and only one reason, why I want you to switch your service to Patriot Mobile. They deserve your business. They work so hard to make sure that this country is moving in the right direction. So go to patriotmobile.com/Grant, 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code GRANT for a free month service. They'll buy out your contract. You don't have to worry about that. They'll give you that free month service. Use the promo code GRANT. You can pick what network. They have access to the 3 big national networks. You pick what network you want to be on, and 100% U.S.-based customer service. And you know that a portion of the money you pay for your cell service is going to go to making this country better. Why fund the woke agenda of the left with Verizon and T-Mobile and all those? Get with Patriot Mobile. Do what me and Jason Aldean and Steve Bannon and Sarah Gonzalez over at The Blaze and Chad Prather. I mean, all of these people love Patriot Mobile. Dana Lash. We're all there, part of the team. Be part of our team. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT for a free month service. All right. Now to a little bit of what happened in Washington. I want to start with Tillis because what a jerk this guy is. You know, I'm so glad he's leaving. I want you to see how angry he is and really what a leftist he is. I can't even call him a rhino anymore.
Wants out of the White House. We just want numbers. We want 1,000 a day, 6,000 a day, 9,000 a day because numbers matter, right? No.
Let me just tell you, this is a hearing with Kristi Noem. You think Kristi Noem would have some protection from the Democrats? Instead, Tillis, a so-called Republican, goes on the attack on her about deportations, which is something we all voted for.
They don't matter. Quality matters, not quantity, quality. And what we've seen is a disaster. Under your leadership, Ms. Noem, a disaster.
Now, let me ask you this question. Quality over quantity. So what you're saying is if you didn't commit another crime other than sneaking into the country, that you should stay here, that's not a quality deportation. The rule is you can't come in illegally. That means everybody that did is going to have to be deported. Now, will we ultimately get to everybody? No, it's impossible. But if we catch you, you've got to be deported. So what do you mean quality over quantity? You only want the murderers, rapists, and drug dealers deported? If you came here illegally, you got to be deported. There's nothing wrong with that quality of deportation.
What we've seen is innocent people getting detained that turn out are American citizens. I could talk about the culture that's been created here with Stephen Miller aiding and abetting. I heard first reports that he was the one that said it was a domestic terrorist situation where 2 people lost their lives in Minneapolis.
Stephen Miller aiding and abetting who? Right now what you're doing is aiding and abetting the Democrats and their assault on the good people of ICE. Screw you, Tom Tillis.
I've heard that report. Maybe you can refute it. I don't know that we'll have time for you to respond because I'm giving you a performance evaluation here. I'm not looking for a response. And I'm saying, Ms. Noem, that time after time after time I've been disappointed. But before I get back to looking at the vicious people that did this damage to these families, I want to talk a minute about FEMA.
Oh, screw you. You're pointing at families that had something happen to them. I don't even know what it was, but it's nothing compared to the family of Lake and Riley. It's nothing compared to the family of that little girl who lost her mother in a drunk driving crash. It's nothing to the family of those kids who lost a mom that an illegal alien truck driver plowed through on a highway in Indiana. You are a disgusting human being, Tom Tillis. You really are, and I don't say that lightly. Look, this is supposed to be about politics. We're supposed to disagree on policy. But when you're yelling and screaming about something so absurd, well, then I'm going to call you names. You're mentally bankrupt, quite frankly. The fact that you can't see the damage that illegals have done to this country at the hands of Joe Biden and his open border policies. And the reason he doesn't see it because he was part of the problem. He was part of the Chamber of Commerce problem where business wanted these illegals here for cheap labor. Tom Tillis was fully willing to give them that labor cheap. And so now here we are, and this is the way he defends us. What a jerk. Do I dare play more?
You have a policy right now that anything over $100,000 has to go through your desk for approval.
Oh, screw him. I'm not going to listen to him. Let's see what she had to say when she opened up. This is Kristi Noem yesterday. And she's on the hot seat again today. We'll have highlights of that on the Real America's Voice show tonight.
The latest Democrat-led shutdown of DHS is reckless, it's unnecessary, and it undermines the American national security, and it harms the men and women who work at DHS and their families. Despite the House passing a bipartisan, bicameral full-year DHS funding bill, it is Senate Democrats who've chosen not to fund the department and have held this department hostage. As a result, critical national security missions, including border security, immigration enforcement, aviation security, disaster response, cybersecurity, and the protection of critical infrastructure are all being strained. Our ability to provide for a safe and successful World Cup is being hindered as well. More than 100,000 dedicated DHS employees are once again being asked to work without pay for the third time in just 5 months. At a time when we've produced the most secure border in history and removed nearly 3 million illegal aliens from our country, disrupting the department responsible for those gains is indefensible. I want to thank the men and women of the Department of Homeland Security for their professionalism, for their dedication, for their commitment to keeping America safe and continuing to show up and work even though they aren't being compensated for it.
They're not being compensated. They're not even being paid. The Coast Guard, the United States Coast Guard, is not getting paid right now because of Democrats, and there's no talk about this. They're not even working on it. Nobody cares. I mean it. I don't think anybody cares about these people. And then the other side of this is not just the members of the Coast Guard that aren't getting a paycheck. How do you think a 22-year-old with a kid that's working on a boat off the coast of Rhode Island is going to pay his bills at the end of the month? You think they have a stockpile of cash? No way. At 21, you think I had a stockpile of cash? No. I was racking up credit card debt. Strategically, I knew that what I was doing was building something, and I racked up a little credit card debt, but I always was chipping away at it, and I knew that I'd get my next job in a year, and I'd double my salary, I'd pay down the credit card debt, and then I'd keep playing that game until here we are, baby, living on top of the world. I wish. Everything's relative in life, right? Right now where I am, a show on Real America's Voice, a great podcast with great viewers and listeners, a fabulous family and a son who's healthy and in good shape. I'm on top of the world. What more could I ask for? More money. That's what I want. I'm teasing. I'm teasing and I'm not teasing. I'm always working forward for more cash, but I don't do it in a way that's going to let it affect how I live and not be happy. You want the best advice in life? Find a way to be happy. Smile. Laugh. Success comes with smiles. And success comes to those who smile a lot. When I was an employer, and I don't have many people working for me now other than the people that work on the Real America's Voice show. When I had employees that smiled, they didn't have to be the best at their job, but they had to be happy that they were there doing the job. And if they were there, they would get anything from me because I just love people who are grateful and happy about their position in life. Find a way to be happy. And if you're not happy with your position in life, then you got to find a way to change it. Anything you can do. I mean, honestly, that goes into the Maverick system, right? I pitch this all the time. Maverick system, themavericksystem.com, themavericksystem.com. You want to figure out to find a way to be happy? Go to themavericksystem.com. It's a great course. It's great for kids, too. Teenagers. How to be a respectful alpha. That's what it's about. All right, anyway, I didn't mean to pitch my Maverick system. In fact, what I can do, here's what I am going to do, because I do have to get some of these in, is let me go to my friends over at the Wellness Company. TWC.health/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT. Do you know with the war going on in Iran, we are now looking at medication shortages, drug shortages. This is why you need a prescription medication kit. China has issues. Why? Because it's going to have issues with oil. It's going to have issues with production and energy. This is going to create a shortage of prescription medications. This kit will keep you and your family safe. Okay? There's amoxicillin in here, ivermectin in here, a whole host of antivirals, antiparasitics, and antibiotics. The ones you need made out to you, and I urge you get this kit, twc.health/Grant. Now, there is a whole slew of products on the Wellness Company's website designed to keep you safe. Not all of them are prescription medications. Some of them are supplements like Ultimate Spike Detox, like this product, Mars for men, a testosterone booster. This is changing my life right here. The energy I feel when I wake up in the morning because of Mars is great. And the other life changer, I'm telling you, TheraBlue, a peptide-based pain gel that penetrates so deep. If you have any kind of arthritis or joint pain, this is great too. TWC.health/Grant. Use that promo code GRANT for 10% off. They are unapologetic, by the way, unapologetic about their support for this country. Thank you, TWC. TWC.health/Grant. Use that promo code GRANT. Be Happy 731 says, my son retired from the Coast Guard last year when they didn't get paid. I always told him he could count on me. Be Happy, that's nice of you. And I think I love it when kids can count on their parents when they need it. But there's a fine line from kids. What should I say? from kids counting on their parents in times of need to kids relying on their parents. You don't want kids to just rely on you for everything. And I think in some respects, we're raising a community of kids where this is a big problem. They're so reliant on us for everything. Oh, son, can I cut your bagel for you? Can I toast that for you? Oh, you want to wash the car? I'll give you this example. My son said, Dad, I'm going to take the car to the car wash. Now, I paid for his car, okay? It's a year old. It's a beautiful car. When Elon was going through everything, I leased him a base model Tesla. Great deal. And it's got all the safety bells and whistles in there to keep him, for the most part, safe. Scariest thing, having a 16-year-old on the road. He says, Dad, I'm going to take the car to the car wash because he knows how mad I get when the car's dirty. So I said, okay, well, you use your own card, pay for it yourself. He says, what? I said, dude, we have a hose and a bucket. You can wash the car yourself. I pay for the car. I pay for the insurance for the car. You don't need gas, so I pay for the electricity for the car. You can wash the car yourself. If you want to take it to the car wash, that's on you, but you're using your own money. Oh, you would have thought that that this was the craziest request ever. Well, the funniest part was he goes to use his own money. The car wash didn't take Apple Pay. So he had to go home and he washed the car himself. Now, that's what I mean by kids relying on their parents. I think in some respects, do I have the $8 for him to wash the car? Yes. But I wasn't taking my car to the car wash when I was a kid. My dad made me wash my car. I think it's a positive that these kids do things. But this day and age, we give our kids everything. And I'm guilty of this, too. To the point where, look, I'm not going to besmirch my son. I'm very proud of him. He's a good kid. He's a respectful kid. He doesn't get himself in trouble. He's a little spoiled sometimes. Hey, you want to go to the Mavericks game? No, I don't like the Mavericks. Would you like to go to Indiana Pacers versus the Golden State Warriors? We're going to fly to Indiana for this. Oh, yeah, I'm in. If it involves some kind of a trip, he's good. But he won't go to the Mavericks game with me. I got season tickets because he doesn't like the Mavericks. That's a little spoiled. You know how many kids would love to go to the... But he's a good kid, and I'm proud of him. There are so many worse problems I could have with my son. He stays out of trouble. He doesn't stay out late. He works hard in school. He's a good kid. He really is. All right. Where the hell was I after that rant? Jeez. I think we were talking about Kristi Noem sound bites. Here's Dick Durbin going after her. This was an interesting exchange.
Let me ask you about the fact that 85% of the 400,000 immigrants that ICE arrested during President Trump's first term in office had no violent criminal record. The president said over and over at his rallies, we're going after the worst of the worst, the terrorists, the murderers, the rapists. And then it turns out that 85% of the people you've gone after have no criminal history whatsoever.
Listen to her answer, because this just proves again these Democrats love to lie. They love to come up with stats that actually don't exist.
However, how do you explain that?
Sir, when you talk about violent crimes, what you're saying, the crimes that don't matter, that you aren't counting, are ones that affect American families every single day. You're not counting DUIs, you're not counting embezzlements, you're not counting theft, and you're not counting the other crimes against people and drug trafficking and proliferating that. So if you don't count those as crimes, that these individuals and impacting families in this country.
They are counted, and they calculate 14% of those that
those are not counted in your 14%. If you were counting crimes that these illegal aliens in this country have committed, it would be well over 65 to 70% of the individuals that are detained today have those crimes on their record, besides the crime of being in this country illegally.
Can you back that up with some information for me?
Absolutely.
So there you go. He leaves out drug dealers and the rest of the criminals, leaves them out, and says, you're not sending the worst of the worst home. Well, give me a freaking break, Durbin. And then there's Dickie Blumenthal. You know, I knew this guy well. I worked in Hartford, Connecticut for the NBC station from, what years was it? 1994, maybe 93 to 2002 or 3. So 10 years in the Hartford market, also working at WNBC in New York. He was the Attorney General of the state of Connecticut. He was always eager to be on camera. I could call him literally at any time and go up and interview him, put him on TV. He was always cordial to me, but what a leftist. And he's become even more of a leftist since he got to the United States Senate. I don't like this guy. This is, Dick Denang Blumenthal with his phony service record.
Do you know who Angel Samanago is? Do you recognize that name?
This is
an individual that was murdered in your state by an illegal alien,
of rights and trust.
duct taped.
The answers are
It looked like
very
it was
simple,
an assassination.
And I would have hoped
I haven't heard
that
you say
you
one
could give
victim's
better
name
answers today
from illegal
to these
immigrants that
three
are here
individuals.
perpetuating
Would you like
violence
to say
against
anything
people.
to Ms. Miramar?
I'd
Ms.
like to hear you
Ramirez,
say the
or
name
Mr.
of one of our victims
Venegas?
of illegal criminal activity and fight for one of those victims so that we can stop as many of them from being created in the future by people who should never be in this country to begin with.
She's amazing. So she talks right over him so calmly, so coolly. Duct taped, murdered, someone in your state. Do you care about her? Do you even know who she is? I don't think Dick Blumenthal knows who she is. I really don't. Noem again.
How do you...
Now, this is interesting because we like Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. But he goes after Kristi Noem for spending money on TV commercials. Now, I've told you one of the problems with Kristi Noem is the obsession with image. There's a reason those in the Maga base call her Border Barbie. Now, I can take that, okay? Because, one, I think she's doing a decent job at DHS. I really do. In an almost unattainable position to keep everyone happy. You can't. So I think she's doing a decent job. Does she dress up in Halloween costumes at times? Sometimes. But I got to spend some time with her almost in a one-on-one setting at the White House a few months ago. And she's very cordial. She's clearly smart. I mean, this woman, there's nothing that is not smart about this woman. As you can see, the way she deals with these people, including the way she deals with this. But Senator Kennedy calling her out for these TV commercials that feature her in all of them and a lot of money being spent on them.
Square that concern for waste, which I share, with the fact that you have spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently.
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave, or we would detain them and remove them, and they'd not get the chance to come back to America the right way. That has been extremely effective.
Ask you to run these advertisements, is that right?
We had that conversation, yes, before I was put in this position and sworn in and confirmed, and since then as well.
Okay. Did you bid out those service contracts?
Yes, they did. They went out to a competitive bid, and career officials at the department chose who would do those advertising commercials.
And the people that you ended up picking were people who had formerly done your political work back in South Dakota. Is that right?
No, that's not correct, sir.
I think it is.
No, it's not, sir. The individuals who, I believe the careers who they chose were two different media firms. There's been conversation about their subcontractors, but we have no legal authority to look into subcontractors on work like that.
Okay. And you're saying that you're testifying that President Trump approved this ahead of time. Is that my understanding?
We had conversations about making sure that we were telling people.
No, ma'am. I'm asking you, sorry to interrupt, but the president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly.
Did the president know you were going to do this?
Yes.
He did?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And one thing, Senator, I think would be helpful to know is how effective that communications has been. That
well, they were
overwhelmingly
effective in your name recognition. I mean, I personally just, I mean, to me, it puts the president in a terribly awkward spot. And and I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe, knowing the president, as I do, that you said, Mr. President, here's some ads I've cut, and I'm going to spend $220 million running them, that he would have agreed to that. I don't think Russ Vogt at OMB would have agreed to that. It's something we have to defend. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. My research shows that you did not bid them out, that you pick, in fact, one of the people you picked, the strategy group, Safe America Media was a company formed 11 days before you picked them, and that the strategy group got most of the money, and the head of that is married to your former spokesperson. Look, we all have friends who are qualified. I'm not quibbling with that. It troubles me. A fifth to a quarter of $1 billion of taxpayer money when we're scratching for every penny and we're fighting over rescission packages. I just can't agree with Madam Secretary. Are you still running those ads?
No, Senator, I did not have anything to do with picking those contractors. I know politicals at the Department of Homeland Security did.
I understand. Are you
Mayor
still running
officials
those
followed
ads?
the competitive bid process.
Are you still running those ads?
I think the ads are due to end here in March, I think within a week or
So
two.
they
I'm
are
not sure of the
still
update. The one that is running is focusing on angel families. Have you seen that? It is the one that's talking about this is our why. This is why we work every day.
Okay.
Is for the angel family.
So I want to defend Kristi Noem here. Now, in a normal world, I would say the government doesn't need to be spending $220 million on commercials. Certainly it doesn't need to spend that money on commercials on why you need to be vaxxed, which I'm sure Senator Kennedy probably asked those same questions when Health and Human Services under Biden administration was running those types of commercials. This is a little different for two reasons. One, some of the commercials were about using the CBP One app, which is now the CBP Home app, to self-deport. We have almost 2 million self-deportations. The commercials alone could pay for themselves with the amount of deportations and the cost to deport somebody. People start self-deporting. It's a lot cheaper than going out there, tracking them down, arresting them, and putting them through the system. The self-deportation saves time, energy, and money. And I think the commercials helped with that. The other thing is our ICE agents are under such fire. I do think from a public relations standpoint to show angel families and what agents are really fighting for is in the best interest of this country. So I disagree with Senator Kennedy here on this one, but I don't fault him for asking questions about all of this. The questions are fine. I get it. You got to ask questions. But in the end, what happened here? Let me see. Am I still? Let me see here. We're still good, right? Yes. Yes. I thought we had a problem. No, we're still good. Sorry about that. So in the end, I somewhat disagree with him here. Here's what I'm going to play you one clip of Hakeem Jeffries being questioned. Thank you, Captain Shelley. I appreciate that. Something happened on my end. I'm going to play a clip of Hakeem Jeffries with Fox News talking about this is just puts the hypocrisy of the left on display. Listen to this.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. Back in 2011, Nancy Pelosi said that then President Obama didn't need congressional approval to bomb Libya.
Madam Leader, you're saying that the president did not need authorization initially and still does not need any authorization from Congress on Libya?
Yes.
Now House Democrats say President Trump needs that approval to bomb Iran. What's the difference?
Well, obviously, Libya and the circumstances connected to that were very different than the circumstance that we face in Iran right now. I mean, I don't even understand the genesis or basis of that question, not suggesting that you're not asking it in good faith.
Libya went on for 7 months.
As I've indicated, first of all, I was not in Congress at the time.
So now he backtracks. Libya went on for 7 months. What's the difference? We're hitting one country, we're hitting another country. It's the same thing, and presidents from both parties have done this since the beginning of time. I believe the War Powers Act is actually unconstitutional. The commander-in-chief has a right to do what he wants with the military, within reason, of course. Can't go murdering innocent people. But if you feel there's a national security threat to America, then the president has a right to act. And if you think President Trump did something out of bounds, then you impeach him. But you can't do that here. The evidence is clear. Iran was not only calling for death to America, they were actively working on a nuclear bomb, even after we hit them. They had killed so many American citizens. There's no reasonable person can argue that Iran was not a threat to us. They were.
So we're dealing with what we're dealing with right now, which is a catastrophic, endless war, as Donald Trump has characterized it, without any justification.
Now, wait a second. Catastrophic, endless war. Trump hasn't characterized it like that. Trump has said it's going perfectly as planned. Trump has said we do not expect to be in this for a long time, maybe 4 weeks. We can't put a number on it, but we're not going to end until the job is finished. But we don't expect it to be a forever war. We want command and control out, ballistic missiles out, no ability to make a nuclear bomb, and the military and Navy decapitated. It's that easy.
That there was going to be a preeminent assault or attack on the United States of America, either in our homeland or as it relates to our interests in the Middle East. The administration is not even pretending like they have intelligence or information at this point, publicly.
You're not even pretending that you have intelligence whatsoever. Again, these people don't have intelligence. As President Trump says, they're low IQ individuals. And it is simply Trump derangement syndrome at every level. They can't see reality if it hit them in the face just because of their hatred of President Trump over and over and over again. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Real America's Voice show tonight. We're going to continue our talk of the Texas elections. I so appreciate all of you joining me here today. God bless every single one of you. Stinchfield's Army rolls. Because of all of you, thanks to Shelly, our captain, in the Rumble chat. She does such a great job. And you know I pay her a lot of money, too. A lot of money. Shelly, you work for free. I owe you something. I don't know. I gotta maybe I'll get you a Stinchfield's mug and send it to you. You at least deserve that. Thank you, Shelly. Folks, that's going to do it for us. Again, let me just remind you, I mean it, if you want to reframe your brain for you or your kids, I've got it priced so cheap. This course is great to get you thinking differently about how to attack life. TheMaverickSystem.com, TheMaverickSystem.com. This is my creation. I'm very proud of it. Go pay that website a visit. See what you think. Tell me what you think. Shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you. All right, folks. Stinchfield's Army rolls. Whoops. We will see you tomorrow morning, same time, or afternoon, depending on where you are in the country. And I'll see you tonight on the Real America's Voice show. You guys rock. Thanks for watching.
Uncensored,